Tired of losing your sanity looking for important work? Dropbox Dash finds what you need fast across all your work apps so you can focus on what matters. Dash means less time searching, more time creating. Learn more at dropbox.com/dash.
In 2004, director Clint Eastwood and star Hilary Swank gave the world a poignant picture of a man broken by the weight of his love.
In 2023, we try a whiskey that tries to carry that weight on its shoulder.
The film is $1 Million Baby.
The whiskey is Monkey Shoulder.
And we'll review them both. This is
the Film and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome to the Film and Whiskey Podcast, where each week we review a classic movie and a glass of whiskey. I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And this week we are revisiting Clint Eastwood's 2004 Best Picture winner, $1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby.
Brad, this was the 5th ever movie that we reviewed on the Film and Whiskey Podcast.
Holy cow.
I went back and listened to our season 1 episode on this movie. And I have to say, before I go any further, what we're doing this season is we are going back and re-reviewing all of our season 1 movies because we were just babies. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how to podcast. And
we definitely were not worth $1 million.
No, not at all. I have to say, man, of all of the season 1 crappy audio adventures I've had, this was unlistenable. I don't know what happened, but I do this thing sometimes where when I make my S's, I kind of whistle a little bit and I have to try to edit that out in post. And in season 1, I was like, let's do the opposite of that. Let's turn that bad boy. I sounded like frickin' Jiminy Cricket giving a little whistle. It was like, I had to turn it off after 10 minutes. I don't even know what we said about this movie.
Or like the gopher in Winnie the Pooh.
Oh my gosh, it was worse than that. It truly... I'm so glad that we are redoing this just so I can eliminate that audio from existence.
Yeah, if anything, we should just take a transcript from that and just re-say all the same things.
It probably was okay content, but just the worst audio you've ever heard.
Hideous to listen to.
All right, so we're revisiting $1 Million Baby. And I have to say, in the 10 minutes that I listened to that episode, Brad, I have very different thoughts on this movie than I did in season 1. And so I'm really, really glad we're getting the chance to redo this, man.
Bobby Book coming in with a hot take. He likes this movie now?
I do. This is a good movie.
Oh my gosh. Bob, I am here to tell you that this movie is dope.
It's really good, man.
It's really freaking good, dude.
I have so many more observations than I did back in season 1. Before we go any further, I on Hilary Swank. And yes, I don't know what I was thinking because she is you can debate whether the character is well written. She freaking knocks it out of the park, man. She is so good at this movie.
Yeah. And I was reading that they almost chose Sandra Bullock for this.
Nope.
But we'll get to that point in a second. Her production schedule for Miss Congeniality 2 got in the way. Which I just needed everybody to know.
Don't you just hate when that happens?
I just needed everybody to know that fact about this movie.
You should have saved that for 2 facts and a falsehood, because I would have been like, there's no way that's true. That's ridiculous.
But yeah, so that's why she didn't make it. And let's just talk for a second about how terrible she would have been in this role.
Listen, I like Sandra Bullock. This role in order to keep this role from being a complete caricature, you have to get perhaps the best actress of her generation to play it. And Hilary Swank just nails it, man. I mean, we talked back in season 1 about this, but the obvious talking point here was the physical transformation, the fact that she did the Robert De Niro Raging Bull gaining 30 pounds of muscle thing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you can see it. She looks incredible, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, you can tell that she lived in this character. It is such a and this is my favorite word to describe my favorite performances, it's such a sincere performance, Bob. Like, the authenticity is oozing out of her, that she understands this character and this character's psyche on an incredibly deep level.
Brad, I think we have a lot of good things to say about this movie, but before we get into any of them, we need to hit pause so that we can introduce our first segment of the day, America's favorite segment, which we call Brad Explains.
Brad's gonna give us the movie plot with only 60 seconds ticking on the clock, so let's go ahead and hear your take with this little segment that we call Brad Explains.
Brad Explains is the part of the podcast where Brad breaks down the plot of the movie that he has just seen, often for the first time. Brad,
which is not true at all this season.
No, not at all. Like, not even one time. I don't even know why I'm saying the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think you did a Brad Explains on this in season 1. We had already, like, even by episode 5, we had said, like, all right, go ahead and explain the movie. I can tell you with certainty, it was not 60 seconds long.
I was going to say, can we just talk about how long the Gone with the Wind explanation was? It was a solid 9 minutes of me talking.
And I remember it ended with me being like, and that's intermission. Like, we got to the halfway mark, and then we were like, you know what? If you just want to know about Gone with the Wind, just
go watch it. Yep.
I'm so glad that we implemented the 60-second timer here.
That might have kept the podcast alive.
All right, Brad, so listen, if you have not seen $1 Million Baby, it has been over 20 years at this point since it came out. I'm sure that someone in your life has spoiled it for you, but if you have somehow managed to not have this movie spoiled, you need to keep it that way.
Yeah, it's a great boxing film. Go watch it.
And nothing else, right?
And nothing else.
Brad is going to spoil this movie in his breakdown of the plot. So if you have not seen it, go watch it and then come back. Brad, you have 60 seconds on the clock. Spoil this movie and go.
Hilary Swank sucks. Clint Eastwood helps her not suck. And then she falls and breaks her neck and he pulls the plug on her.
Wow.
Boom.
I like how you said Hilary Swank sucks. Not like her character. Like Hilary Swank, the human being, sucks.
Yeah, she was terrible. All I could ever think about whenever Hilary Swank comes up is that office debate.
Episode. You know what, man? I got to be honest with you. And like, I don't mean to be the wet blanket here, but it really bums me out that Hilary Swank, you know, I'm watching her like do TV shows and stuff now. And I think the fact that she is not necessarily like the most conventionally attractive actress, even though like, you know, that episode of The Office where people are talking about her like as if she's actually ugly. I have never thought that she is an unattractive person. Like, you don't get to be in movies if your face isn't a little bit symmetrical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I really do think that not just that Office episode, but that kind of rumor, whatever you want to call it, really chased her for a long time. And I think it kept her from having the kind of career that she deserved to have. She wins 2 Oscars in a 5-year span and then just kind of goes away. And like,
yeah,
it's not fair to her. She's such a good actress.
Yeah, no, she is a great actress. I feel like there are certain TV actresses or actors that like make their way to Hollywood for a few films and then 8 years later you see them back like headlining a TV show. Mm-hmm. You know, and that makes sense for them. It doesn't make sense for Hilary Swank, man.
No, I think everybody thought that she was going to be the Meryl Streep of her generation. And those opportunities just never really ended up presenting themselves to her. And it really sucks.
The Meryl Streep of her generation. That's a bold claim, Bob.
2 Oscars in 5 years, man.
Yeah.
She wins an Oscar.
What was her other Oscar?
In 1999, going into 2000, it was the movie Boys Don't Cry. That was her first Oscar. And then, you know, like, she wins an Oscar before Cate Blanchett ever does. She wins an Oscar before Kate Winslet ever does. I feel like these people that we look at as like, oh, they are the actresses of their generation. It was Hilary Swank before it was either one of them. And I think that, like, it, you know, just to reiterate, it really sucks that we don't laud her as much as she deserves.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this right now. I've never heard of that movie. I can't even remember the name of it right now. And you just said it 10 seconds ago.
It's called Boys Don't Cry. Go look it up after this episode. but we have an episode to discuss right now, Brad. We're talking about $1 Million Baby. I think the obvious point of comparison, and I don't know if you want to do it here or do it after the break, we're going to have to talk about how this is Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Like it kind of, Unforgiven is Clint making his grand statement where he first really starts to dig his heels in on the effects of violence and the effects of violence in his own story and legacy. And I think it's following him through all the way to this point. We've done a few Clint Eastwood movies on this podcast now. And even just from Mystic River, a movie we watched for this show, coming out the year before this, to this movie, I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, this movie just feels like it goes so much deeper and achieves heights that he really hadn't hit since Unforgiven.
Yeah, 100%. He has an ability in this film to tap into the depths of these characters that are written on the screen, and you're not distracted by bad soundtrack the way you are in Mystic River, and you don't have, you don't have the specter, not to get too dark or anything, but you don't have the specter of like childhood sexual abuse hanging over the whole movie. They're like, it is such a uplifting film for the first half. And then, you get to the back half and you understand the pain of what Clint's character goes through because of how uplifting the first half was.
Yeah.
Like, you see what an incredible guy he is in the way that he takes care of Big Willie, the first boxer, and you see the way he takes care of Hilary Swank. And you understand the love that he has for this girl, this faux daughter that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because Clint is willing to give his characters heart and depth and allow the camera to sit with them.
So after I watched this movie, there was one thing that really blew me away, and it was the way Clint uses the camera in this movie. I think that if there's one thing we've really talked about across all of our Clint Eastwood movies, it's that the cinematography is often quite beautiful, but that he doesn't really use the camera in inventive ways. It's pretty static.
Mm-hmm. It's because he only uses one take.
The first hour and a half of this movie is a very uplifting, albeit conventional, rise to stardom sports movie.
Yeah.
And yet, it has some of the best in the ring choreography and camera movement that I've ever seen in a boxing movie. And we've watched Raging Bull for this podcast. We've watched Cinderella Man. I was shocked at how Clint went handheld with a ton of this camera work in this movie. And it really feels like you are in the ring in a real fight. And I got to give it up to Clint for the ability to have a movie that has so much energy in it.
Yeah. Well, and you feel the power that Hilary Swank brings into the ring. I keep calling her Hilary Swank. What's her character's name?
Her name's Maggie. Maggie Fitzgerald.
Maggie. Yeah, so Maggie fights with such passion and power, and he uses the camera to illustrate that. I'm with you, man. I think the other part of the cinematography that I really loved, and I remember talking about in season 1, was the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
The way he uses light in this film, for me, is reminiscent of a Citizen Kane, where there's really strong
contrast. Yeah.
Yeah, contrast, but not just a gradient. It's a sharp line between the shadow and the light.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant choice with a movie that ends with such a gray moral area. To use so many sharp lines, because that's how, Clint's character looks at the world, in these sharp lines of black and white, right and wrong. And so you see that through the use of light, but by the end of the film, there's nothing black and white about the decision he has to make.
I'm going to pull us out of that moral quandary for a minute to talk more about Clint Eastwood on a very superficial level. Brad,
he's still pretty good looking.
That's
right.
Listen, here's what I'm going to say. We don't usually talk about people's looks and especially their physique on this show, because we just don't typically say things like, oh, I really like her body. It just makes us sound dumb. However, I have been really impressed watching these Clint Eastwood movies where the man is like somewhere between 70 and 80 years old in most of the movies we're watching. And he doesn't have an old man physique at all. Like the dude's chest is so like he's like washboard. Like he doesn't have, you can't see like defined pecs, but he also doesn't have saggy old man boobs. And it's kind of insane how good of shape he's in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about what Clint Eastwood eats, I feel like he just eats like a can of baked beans and a salad every night. I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a dude to just get fat because he's eating junk all the time. He looks incredible. And you said that he was between 70 and 80. I think he might be between 70 and 180. I'm not quite sure what age he's at this point.
Oh, man.
But yeah, the dude looks incredible. I am with you 100%. I'm over here trying to talk about his skill as a director, but sure, Bob, we can talk about his looks.
Let it be known that one of the first people I've ever fawned over on Film and Whiskey is 76-year-old Clint Eastwood, or however old he was in the making of this movie. I'm just saying, man, if either of us look half that good at that age, like we have done something right.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you have the height to look like him. I'm not,
but not the physique.
Quite as tall. Yeah. Not quite the physique. I might have the physique. Well, between the two of us, we will look as good as
Clint Eastwood. Yep. All right, man. I do want to talk about these performances a little bit. We've already talked about Hilary Swank. This might be the best Clint Eastwood performance, and I said that with Unforgiven, and I said it with Gran Torino. And I think it's crazy how you get various shades of the Clint Eastwood persona, but that he's really camping out within those silos in each of those movies. Like the Unforgiven, Will Money in Unforgiven is not the same character as this character. And his character in Gran Torino is very different than this character. And honestly, I think what I really love about this character is that he's the most openly loving person in this movie that he is in any of these three films. Like once she cracks through his kind of, hard exterior, he is like, he's head over heels for her. And that's what leads to the tragedy in the movie. But to see that kind of warmth coming from Clint Eastwood is something that you don't typically see. And it was a really welcome departure for me here.
Yeah, 100%. And you kind of see it early in the film when, he's talking to Big Willie and, he pays to have the guy's car taken care of and the brokenness that you see him feel when Willie leaves him as his trainer is so deep and heartfelt, and it sets the stage for the rest of the film. And I think that maybe the first time I watched this, I felt like they spent a little bit too much time leading up to Clint training Maggie. I thought it was just the right amount of time on this watch through.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are going to get into talking about the script and the issues that I still have with this script. That might be a good conversation to have on the back end of this episode, because I do want to emphasize, overall, this movie is wildly successful. And I think that I let the deficiencies in the script really weigh my score down in season one. I think I only gave this like a 7.5.
You gave it a 7, Bob.
7. Wow. Yeah, I was dumb. However, I will say, even at this point, I will say this. If we're comparing this kind of directly to Unforgiven as kind of like, spiritual cousins or whatever, I think that Unforgiven is still more successful at identifying the point that it's trying to make and then directly targeting everything it does in the movie to address that point. I think I'm still kind of muddied on exactly what the point of this movie is. What is the underlying, not just the theme, but is there a lesson to be learned here, or is the lesson that there isn't a lesson to be learned? And I think that Paul Haggis is trying to do a lot of things at once with this script. And so, the actors are doing everything they can, and they're doing an incredible job. But there are certain things, to get back to your point about the lead up to even training Maggie. The Catholic priest in this movie is only in this movie essentially to fulfill the role that he fills in the final scene he has in the movie. And I don't know that we need 8 scenes of Clint kind of fucking with him just for, kicks and giggles. to establish that character, because the character really doesn't add that much to the overall movie, except for like he's representative of the church's ethical code, and Clint disagrees with it. And like you kind of could have gotten that if you introduced the priest for the very first time in that last scene. And so like I do think there are just things about the way this movie is structured and set up that keep it from being, for me, as perfectly tuned as Unforgiven was.
Yeah, I mean, you could have established early in the film that he goes to mass by having Maggie like bebop her way on up and ask him to train her again as he's like walking out of mass. Mm-hmm. And boom, he's Catholic, he goes to mass, and then at the end of the film you show him with the priest, and that's it. So no, I'm with you 100%. I think that there are parts of this film that feel a little bit extraneous. I think that our big critique of the film the first time through still stands. Like the white trash of it all, if you will. Yeah. You know, Maggie's family is white trash. And I'm not calling them that because I'm reductionistic. I'm calling them that because Clint Eastwood, like, if there is a flaw for him as a director, now that I've watched a decent amount of his movies, the man is not a subtle person. Doesn't have a lot of nuance.
Right.
And you see that very obviously with Hilary Swank's family in this film. And I just feel like he could have gotten it across that they were white trash, but also real people in such a better way than he does.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're already kind of tipping into what we want to talk about in the second half. So if I may, let's press pause on that conversation so that we can talk briefly about the third lead of this movie, Morgan Freeman. And I kind of started to broach the topic of the script, because you can't really talk about Morgan Freeman's character without talking about the script, because most of his role is done in voiceover. He is the narrator of this movie, and you find out at the end of the film that the reason he's been narrating it is that he's writing a letter to Clint Eastwood's estranged daughter. I think that part of why I still don't love this script, Brad, is that it tries to be too cute sometimes. And it tries to leverage how much we liked Morgan Freeman as a narrator in Shawshank, and then say, like, what if he did that, but like twice as much? And I will say, Morgan Freeman's fantastic in this movie. And I even noticed, you know, like, he's doing a different voice than he normally does. And I think it works really well for him here too.
Yep.
But the thing that I'm saying about Shawshank is, you know, in that movie, there's a few scenes where he will have a clever little cute punchline that he delivers at the end of a scene. And then it like helps you move to the next little episode in Shawshank. And in this movie, Paul Haggis tries to make Morgan Freeman's character do that in every single scene for the first 2/3 of the movie. Like he'll make a comment at the start of the scene, and he'll say something like, Maggie always did like knocking him out in the first round. And then the scene will play out, and she will do something. You know, that's the scene where Morgan Freeman's character tries to introduce her to a new manager, and she shuts him down and walks out. And then he comes back on and says, Maggie always did like knocking him out in the first round. And you're like, okay, I get it. Like, that's cute. And it works really well the first like 4 times. But after the 11th scene where he structures it exactly the same way, it really got on my nerves. And it sucks because they don't use Morgan Freeman on screen as much as they should, and the narration gets a little overbearing for me. And so I struggle to like give him the props that he deserves, because he's really good when he's on screen, but the narration really takes away from it for me.
I think the other part of the script that took away from Morgan Freeman's performance was he's like the perfect character. Like, there's nothing wrong with him, but I can't stay away from those ponies. You know what I mean? Like, It feels just a little bit forced in there, where he's like, Clint, you have to keep my money from me and give me just enough to live on so that I don't waste all my money on gambling. Mm-hmm. And it just feels a little bit forced. Mm-hmm. I don't know. How did that interact with you?
Yeah, I mean, they try to give him some flaws, and he talks about like how he was too stubborn of a fighter, and then he lost his eye, and he should have listened to Clint. And you know, and again, I don't mean to get like racial about it or anything, but he's like the only black person in this movie aside from the person who paralyzes Hilary Swank. And like his job is basically to like be of service to everyone in the movie. Like he's literally the janitor, but then he's also there to like pick up all of Clint's emotional baggage, and he's there to be the emotional support for Hilary Swank, and he's there to let Clint vent to him and tell him that it was his fault. And, you know, like it just, it doesn't seem like he's a real person. I totally agree with you on that. And even within that, now, I think Morgan Freeman freaking kills it from an acting standpoint.
Yeah, and I think part of that reason, and I will say, I will give Clint credit here, Morgan actually originally auditioned for the role of Frankie Dunn.
Oh, wow.
But after reading the script, he asked if he could play Eddie, the janitor. Yes. And so I will say, like, Morgan chose this role. This is who he wanted to play in this film. And when he is on screen, he's incredible. The interactions between him and Clint are pitch perfect. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and like significantly better than they were in Unforgiven. Yeah. Morgan Freeman wins the Oscar for this movie, and he totally deserves it here. You know, and we had issues 100%. With his character in Unforgiven, and I think they're definitely remedied here.
Yeah. And if I can talk super quickly about one other character, I don't know if we mentioned him at all the first time we recorded this, you know, on this movie. Jay Baruchel as Danger in this film ripped my heart out this time through.
So here's the thing, though. Is he good? And like, I like Jay Baruchel. I've seen him in a ton of things. You know, he's the voice of Hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon. But like, the character sucks. And also, I don't believe that Jay Baruchel is A, developmentally disabled, and B, Southern. And so like, none of that performance. And I think I also am being unfair to him in some ways because, and I was going to bring this up in the second half, what is the purpose of his character? Is he a parallel to Maggie? Is he a carbon copy of Maggie? Because it seems like the point this movie's trying to make is that the world is a really cruel place to innocent things. And he is like the most innocent thing, right? But the way that their two paths diverge, Maggie and him, is like he's able to come back from what the world did to him and Maggie is not. Yeah. But I don't understand, like, what's the point of that? Like, what's the point of having a second character just like Maggie? Yeah. Is it to give us a little bit of hope at the end of the movie? Like, I don't know. I just don't understand what he's there for.
Have you ever read the book of Ecclesiastes?
I have, Brad. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. For me, I think he kind of represents the capriciousness and randomness of the world. Mm-hmm. That like he and Hilary Swank are both innocent, earnest, eager people who are seeking to become better boxers. He has been disadvantaged and isn't able to do what Hilary Swank can do, and the world punishes him for that. Mm-hmm. And yet even Hilary Swank, who can rise to the peak of her profession, is still punished by the world. And I think that there's a reality that a large portion of the meaning of this film can be found in biblical texts. The rain pours on the rich and the poor alike, on the sinner and the righteous alike. And I think that that's why I really enjoyed Danger's role in this film. It's because it kind of illustrated that point. Like, man, there's times in your life where everything's going great, and there's other times where everything's going poorly, and we're not always sure if we're the ones making it great or poor.
I like that. Well, thank you for enlightening me, Brad. Yeah, and now let me enlighten you, because we are going to drink a whiskey that I am still quite fond of, that I hadn't tried all the way since season 1, and that is Monkey Shoulder. So what do you say we get into drinking that?
Yeah, let's just pull the stool out, sit down, and have a drink.
Ouch.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive, a leader in boat insurance. Welcome aboard to Carefree Boating. Here, we don't worry about the what-ifs, because we explore with Progressive Boat Insurance for as little as $100 per year for a basic liability policy. Progressive also offers a variety of other coverages and can help you cover repair costs when you need it. And with discounts like multi-policy, safety courses, responsible driver, and more, your mind can really float free. Cruise on over to Progressive.com to get a quote today and see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Rate and discounts not available in all states or situations.
All right, everybody. Today we are drinking Monkey Shoulder, a blended Scotch that we really were impressed with back in the day as like a starter Scotch. And I'm curious to see where we're at today, Bob.
Yeah, Brad, I can't really remember much of my Scotch drinking journey way back then, but I have to imagine this is one of the very first Scotch whiskeys I'd ever tried. And so I think, honestly, we were very blessed that this was kind of our gateway into Scotch, because I think to this day, it's still one of the ones I recommend to people who are looking to get into the world of Scotch. It's not super expensive because it's not a single malt, it's a blended Scotch. And it's, it's low enough of a proof that you can use it as a mixer, but it stands up pretty well neat. I will say, though, I have not revisited it since season 1. So, I'm really, really excited to see, has my palate changed in the last X number of years, but also, does this hold up as well? Would I still recommend this as a starter Scotch for people? And yeah, let's see what we come out to.
Yeah, so getting right into it, on the nose, for me, it has a really nice citrusy touch to it, almost like an orange zest, orange peel kind of feel. There's some honey going on, and then I get a nice vanilla-y cream soda freshness kind of pop at the end that I really liked, Bob. I'm sitting at a 7 out of 10 on the nose.
Yeah, Brad, I'm at a 7.5, and I was really impressed that this had as much going on as it does on the nose. I kind of let it mellow out in my glass a little bit, and every time I went to nose it, I was getting new things on it. It started off with just kind of that nice honeyed note that we get on a lot of blended Scotches and some Irish whiskeys as well. But then it got into the melon territory, and for me, it really reminded me of when you're eating a honeydew and you get right down to the rind. It's not quite the really sweet flesh of a melon as much as it is cantaloupe rind, honeydew rind. There was some mint going on in here, which is a note I usually only get on rye whiskeys, some nice maltiness. And then, like you said, there was citrus here. I wrote down lemon zest, but there was that kind of nice tartness to go along with all of it. Super complex for a $35 blended Scotch, so it gets a 7.5 from me.
Yeah, when I got into the flavor of this, the actual palate, it turned really spicy for me. There's some baking spices, clove, almost like a Christmassy kind of spice mix. The vanilla turned from a cream soda into almost like a really rich vanilla cake. And then the orangeness turned tart for me and almost moved into a black cherry territory. I was genuinely kind of blown away by this. I give it an 8 out of 10 on the flavor.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to you. I'm at a 7.5 again. For me, the first things that really manifested, I wrote down ash and char. And it's really hard to talk about something tasting ashy or really charred, because with Scotch, we kind of expect some of that bitterness from the malt, and we expect some smokiness to it as well. But honestly, for me, it kind of reminded me of when we drink Woodford double oaked bourbon. There's a very particular, double oaked flavor. It's not just barrel char, it's double char. And this really reminded me of that. There was a really deep char note to this. And I think you were kind of talking about vanilla cake a little bit ago. I think cakey is a really good term for this because there's a sweetness underlying it, but it never tasted sugary. It almost reminded me of a shortbread or a pound cake, just sweet enough that it kind of adds that layer of fat to your mouth that everything else can kind of dance on top of. Brad, is this a really great whiskey that we just have been sleeping on?
I think it is, Bob. It's. I will say the finish is a little bit short. It's very sweet. The spices I got on the palate lingers for just a few seconds. The vanilla really sits for a long time, which I'm totally fine with. I gave it a 7 out of 10 on the finish.
Yeah, I came down to a 6.5 on the finish. This was the low point for me as well, but I'm in a completely opposite camp as you. I wrote down that this kind of sits a little heavier than I would like it to. Not that it camps out in my chest or anything, but that note of char, I think, really tips bitter towards the end, and I'm left with that as kind of my final note. It gets a little bit char heavy for me. So yeah, I'm just at a 6.5. However, when I think about the balance of this, at a $35 price point and at a fairly low proof blended Scotch, this is a pretty phenomenally balanced whiskey. There was nothing that really stood out in a super negative way about this. I think I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 on balance, Brad.
Yeah, I'm close to you, a little lower. I think that for this to really stand out, the finish would have to come up a little bit, but it's a really solid, well-balanced whiskey. I don't know if we said it. This is sitting at 86 proof.
Mm-hmm.
So at a nice low proof, you're getting a lot of complexity. I give it a 7 out of 10 on balance.
All right, so let's talk price, because at this point, the price has been raised. I don't know whatever the percentage is on this now, but I think when we first tried it, it was around $30, and it's up to at least $35 now in the state of Ohio.
Yes, $35.
I still think this is a pretty good value at $35, Brad.
I think this is a great value at $35.
You can get a lot of blended scotches cheaper than this. There's not a lot that I would think would be as complex as this and stand up as well neat as this one. You know, when I thought about the price originally, I was like, I can get some cheaper. But now that I'm looking at it, I actually think I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 on value.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. 8 out of 10. This is a incredible value in the world of Scotch, especially, I'm going to come back to where we started, 17 seasons ago. Bob, this is the best starter Scotch.
I agree.
Like, I can't think of another one for the price point and the flavor that I would recommend to somebody.
I will say the price is starting to approach the level where part of the benefit of it before was like, you're not sending someone out to buy a single malt. And so they won't have to feel bad if they don't like it. Because I think when you're when you're talking about, it's a single malt Scotch, there's a level of like, people think that it's
pretentiousness,
not even pretentiousness, but like, like intimidation. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have to like this because it's like a really fancy whiskey. And so then when they don't like it, there's still like, the shame factor built into it. This one was kind of just like,
it's not just a bottle you have to get rid of, but also a box that it comes in.
Right. Well, and this one was like, hey, it's $30, and if you don't like it, you can mix it into stuff. But it's approaching the price point now where it's kind of like, you can't just dump it into stuff and call it good. You're still going to be like, if you don't like it, you dropped $35 on it. That's not a cheap whiskey anymore. Yeah. So I think it's still definitely worth the price. But with the caveat that, like, we're recommending it as a starter Scotch because we think you will like it. But you can no longer feel 100% guilt-free about dumping it if you don't.
Unless you're fantastically wealthy.
That's very true.
Then you could just buy it and pour it straight in the drain.
Well, on that note, Brad, I recommend not doing that. And you know what's funny is, we usually say, do you recommend buying? Do you recommend trying? And for most whiskeys in this price point, I would say, sure, go ahead and buy it because it's $35. Don't waste your money trying it. The funny thing is, I needed to drink this whiskey for the podcast today. I only had a limited amount of time, and I wasn't going to go.
Tried it.
I wasn't going to go buy a bottle. So yeah, I went to a local bar. They had $5 pours, and it was one of the best $5 I've spent in a long time, man. It was absolutely worth a $5 pour.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I would say try it. I would say buy it. And this is, I'm very glad that we revisited Monkey Shoulder, Bob.
I'm coming out to a 37.5 out of 50. If I'm being honest, Brad, I think I actually feel more positive about it than even that score would indicate.
Yeah, I came out to a 37 out of 50. So I'm right there with you.
Cool. So we're at a 37.25 out of 50, or a 74.5 out of 100. This is well above average. I think it's like a genuine crowd pleaser. And it kind of goes along with $1 Million Baby, the rousing crowd pleaser of 2004.
Yeah, 100%. There's nothing absolutely sad about this movie. But Bob, I think it's about time to pull the plug on this segment and move on to the rest of the episode. What do you say?
Oh, man, let's get to it, Brad.
All right, everybody, that was Monkey Shoulder, a whiskey that I would gladly have on my shoulder any day of the week, Bob.
Don't need to get that monkey off my back, Brad.
Hey, there it is.
All right, so let's get
You know what, monkey, we need to get off of your back, Bob, the losing streak that you're on in 2 Facts and a Falsehood.
Brad is gonna try to stump you both. 2 are right and 1 is wrong. 2 facts and a falsehood.
2 Facts and a Falsehood is the part of the podcast where Brad presents 3 items to me as fact, one of which is a complete fabrication, and I have to figure out which one is the lie. Brad, I love how you just assume I'm on a losing streak.
Yeah, no, we actually haven't at this moment recorded the other movies yet. I'm just
going to speak
assuming
it
here.
into existence here that Bob's
Yep.
on a losing streak. So,
hey man, Oprah told me that I could imagine it and it would be true. So,
well, let's
here
hope
we
she's
are.
wrong. Brad, I assume you have 3 good, supposed quote-unquote facts in front of you about the making of this movie. So hit me
I
with
do.
your 2 facts and a falsehood.
Fact number 1, this is one of 2 times when the presenter handing Clint Eastwood an Oscar was Barbra Streisand.
Yep.
She previously handed him the Best Director Oscar for Unforgiven. Before giving him the second movie award, she said, "I would be very happy to do this again for you, Clint." Fact number 2, this is the first Best Picture Oscar winner to be released on both HD DVD and Blu-ray. Fact number 3, Mike Coulter, the actor who plays Big Willie, actually boxed throughout his teenage years and nearly became the state boxing champion in his home state of South Carolina.
These are good ones. Number 1 is true because I remember watching the Oscars and they let Barbra Streisand come out and do Best Picture. And Brad, I've never talked about this before. And
Bob, I believe it's Streisand.
Streisand. No, it's Streisand.
Haven't you seen Licorice Pizza, Bob?
That movie's so good. All right. So she comes out to do Best Picture. I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, Brad, but I have like an irrational dislike of Barbra Streisand. I just don't get it with Barbra Streisand.
She sucks, dude.
I've
don't get it either.
never gotten it. It doesn't make sense to me. And I get like physically upset when I see her doing things. So anyway, she comes out to give Best Picture out. And, you know, they do, and the Oscar goes to, and they open the envelope. And instead of just saying the name of the Oscar, she does the thing, like, she steals Clint Eastwood's moment and says, like, "Clint, I'm so glad to be giving this to you again." And then everyone has to just infer, oh, okay, it's $1 Million Baby. You know, and then she says $1 Million Baby. But it's like, you know what, Barbra Streisand, read the name of the movie, and then when he comes on stage, tell him, "I'm so glad." That's a moment for you and Clint. Like, don't ruin it for the rest of the world. Babs.
Yeah.
Got me so angry.
Dude, I don't even care that you know that that's a fact. I'm so happy to hear that story.
Dude, like, nothing gets me more upset than people doing stuff like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
number one's true.
It's definitely that moment of, like, she is making it about her.
Yes.
And that, like, it's Kanye getting up on stage and dissing Taylor Swift. It's like stuff like that where you're like, you are already a wildly famous person. Stop trying to get the spotlight on you, Barbara.
Barbra Streisand, the Kanye West of the 1960s. All right. Number 1's true. Number 2 sounds like it could be true. Number 3 sounds like it could be true. Number 3 was the one about boxing, right? And number 2, you said number 2 was HD, DVD, and Blu-ray at the same time?
Yep. Yeah, the first Best Picture winner.
Do you remember HD DVDs, Brad?
I remember DVDs. I don't know if I remember, like, HD DVDs being a thing.
So, yes, they were a thing for just a little while, and they had like Blu-rays had the blue cases. HD DVDs had similar sized cases, but they were like a dark red, like a maroon color.
Yeah, I do kind of remember that.
And I remember reading an article about them at the time that, like, Blu-ray looks like it's going to be the winner. HD DVDs are actually better. And it was kind of like the old VHS versus Betamax thing. So anyway, I remember seeing, like, I think The Departed got an HD DVD release, but that came out after this. So I have no idea if that's true or not. I'm going to say 3 is the falsehood, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2.
See, here's the thing. I could tell you whatever I want then, because I have the power here. And I can just lie to you.
That is true.
But I'm not going to, and you are correct, Bob. Number 3 is the falsehood.
All right. The only reason I ended up guessing 3 is because I just asked you, have you ever seen an HD DVD? And you said no. So I was like, well, clearly he didn't make up that fact. Like, he didn't even know what they were until just now.
Dang it. Shot myself in the foot.
Ha! Lawyered.
For real, though, man. That was sneaky.
Let's
Good
talk
job.
about $1 Million Baby, Brad. And I think it's finally time for us to talk about the things that don't work for us. We could get really nitpicky about it, but we did that in season 1. Like, I talked about the white trash thing. I talked about Paul Haggis being the most obvious screenwriter. You know, even in the first half of this episode, I talked about how I don't like that he continually puts a button on every single scene at the end. And yet, like, it's still just a really well-made movie. Like, I can't argue with too much of it. And I sat down and I started to realize, Brad, I think the thing with this movie that I have always pushed back against is that it is making a very complicated and complex moral, not even complex. It's making a moral argument in a time where, like, there was very little support for this, right? Like, euthanasia. I grew up Catholic, dude. Like, it was starting to become a thing when I was, like, right around this age, like the church debates about euthanasia.
Well, wasn't it like Terry Shriver?
Schiavo, yeah, Schiavo.
Yeah, that was a huge news
story, right? So, I mean, this is a hot button issue. And so, again, like, I grew up Catholic. This was not something that I was taught was like an okay thing to do, right? And I think when a movie challenges your worldview, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have your worldview stretched. It's a good thing to learn about experiences from other parts of the world or from other walks of life than your own. But I think in a lot of ways, when you're watching a movie like that, for the movie to really be effective at what it's trying to do, it needs to present a clear argument. And Clint was making an argument against the majority of the American public at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And, it seems unfair in retrospect to say, like, why didn't you convince me better, Clint Eastwood? Because it's not his job. But I do think that ultimately the point of this movie is not entirely clear. Frankie's actions are kind of clear. Frankie obviously thinks this is the right thing to do, and he's clearly struggling with it beforehand. He has this great scene with the priest, and the priest says, like, if you do this thing, you'll be lost, and you'll be lost so deep in a place that you'll never be able to come back from it. And real quietly under his breath, Clint Eastwood just says, I think I already did it. And you don't know if he means, like, I'm already lost, or even in my mind, I've already killed her and I'm looking for permission to do it, so that I don't feel so guilty about it. It's nice that there's some ambiguity to it. But I also just think that Paul Haggis is trying to do too many things at once with all these characters like Danger and Scrap. And it kind of loses the overall point of these two characters and their tragic love story in the mix of all these other peripheral things he's trying to do.
Yeah. Well, and also he's trying to, like, really prove and hammer home a point that, like, the priest is wrong because, Clint Eastwood terminates her life and then just ends up hanging out at a pie bar in Louisiana.
He's like, you know what I need right now?
Need a good slice of pie.
God bless it. I just killed somebody. Boy, could I go for a slice of lemon meringue pie right now.
Yeah.
That will take care of all of life's issues in this moment.
Yeah, that just felt like a really weird ending. I don't know. Like, it just, I don't want to say it felt unearned because there is a certain sense of resignation to it. Like, he's like, oh, I'll never quit boxing. But if I did, I'd go buy myself a little diner. And so it's kind of this like, all right, this was his final act. This is all he had left to give.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it kind of works, but it also just felt a little insensitive.
Well, and one of my favorite things about this movie is they keep repeating, always protect yourself. That's the rule, right? And the entire point of this movie is that both Maggie and Frankie fail to do that. And Scrap has this really great line in his narration where he talks about, like, oh God, let me just read it. Hold on.
Before you say that line, Bob, can I just say, I don't think I ever once caught that Morgan Freeman's name was Scrap. Like, coming out of the movie, you could put a gun to my head. You could threaten to pull out my life support, and I would not be able to tell you what his name was in that movie.
Hey, Brad.
Yeah.
His name was Scrap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, dude. He says, all fighters are pig-headed some way or another. Some part of them always thinks they know better than you about something. The truth is, even if they're wrong, even if that one thing is going to be the ruin of them, if you can beat that last bit out of them, they aren't fighters at all. And so it's this thesis statement about like their stubbornness is what makes them fighters, right? And they know that they should protect themselves and they still don't. And that's what makes them fighters. And yet I still kind of feel like, is that the ultimate point that this movie's making? Like, I don't know, man. It gets a little too muddied for me at the end. And I wish that it had a clearer resolution. We knocked Mystic River last week for going overboard with the like very obvious resolution.
Yeah.
But for all the places that this movie's too obvious, I think that's probably why I'm reluctant to say that it's like, oh, it's really smart that it's ambiguous, because it's like, well, it's very obvious in other parts. So I don't want to just assume that you're like a genius screenwriter, Paul Haggis, because there's other areas of this script you could have really, toned it down on.
Oh, well, also, like, I'm just going to give Eastwood props where they're due. The fact that he could pull off ambiguity at all is very impressive, because that's not exactly his strong suit as a director.
Brad, I don't know. I feel like I've said what I need to say about this movie. I think my issues with it are a little bit more systemic than they are like, oh, I don't like this thing, I don't like this thing. And yet
the cinema studio system is at fault for this. I'm with
exactly.
you.
That's right. Warner Brothers Pictures is at fault. Do you have anything in particular that you want to get at before we get into our last segment of the day?
Honestly, I don't think so. Overall, I believe I gave this a 9 out of 10 in the first season, and I think I was right. I think I did a good job last time summing it up. So, yeah, I'm pretty awesome 4 years later.
All right, man. Well, let's see if you're equally as awesome at picking a double feature for this movie with our last segment of the day. Let's make it a double.
We're near the end of the episode, so thanks for listening to the Film and Whiskey Show. Let's pair another film with this one, even if it's a struggle. It's our final segment of the day, now let's make it a double.
That's right. Let's Make It a Double is the part of the podcast where Brad and I pick a movie to pair with this one to make the perfect double feature. Brad, I will let you go first. Mr. Awesome, Mr. Purveyor of everything that is awesome.
I might have the best pairing in the history of the Film and Whiskey podcast, Bob. So, $1 Million Baby is about a lovable underdog and how, she proves herself to somebody who doesn't believe in her and fights her way to the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am going to pair it with another movie that literally is the exact same story. I'm going to pair this movie with Major League.
I feel like you're conveniently leaving out like half the story here, Brad. You're just kind of stopping at the championship and not the neck breaking.
Bob, Major League is the perfect movie to follow up $1 Million Baby with, because you need something to enjoy.
And also, if you just look at the history of Cleveland sports, it tracks really perfectly with Maggie's decline too. So
we are the broken neck of the
American sports. Yeah. I mean, I don't think mine's going to be nearly as entertaining as yours. I think the obvious choice here is Unforgiven. We've been talking about it all podcast long. Unforgiven's the better movie, and it communicates the point more clearly. But I also think it's just, these are Clint Eastwood's two best directed movies, as I recall. Maybe if I watch Letters from Iwo Jima again, that'll be up there. But what he's able to do here is really, really impressive, even if I have some issues with some of the underlying things here. So, yeah, I'm going to pair it with Unforgiven. Brad's going to pair it with Major League.
You're welcome.
And we're going to move on from that into our final scores.
Bob, I think that this is a 9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is a really incredible movie that has a ton going for it, but there's enough little issues here and there that keep it from being a transcendent 9.5, 10 out of 10. But this is a movie I'll come back to again at some point in my life.
I think I'm at a 9 as well. I was actually at a 9.5 until those last few scenes. And I'm like, man, I wish that they just brought it home a little bit better. It's just I struggle to find the words. And part of it is because, Brad, we watched this movie a couple weeks ago, and we've watched many other movies in between, and I'm really struggling to remember exactly. I take notes during the movie, but I take notes thinking, we're going to record this tomorrow. I'll remember this.
Wait, you can take notes during a movie? I didn't know I was allowed to do that.
Yeah,
Bob.
what I usually do is I go to the movie theater and I put my phone on full brightness. And then,
nice.
Yeah. And I just I hold the phone over my head so everyone behind me can see what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, I do the same thing, but I usually just watch YouTube videos.
I'm thinking
while the
about
movie's
starting to
going
do
on.
voice notes during the movie.
That's an incredible idea.
Clint Eastwood's really good at this. In the middle
And you
of
can
the
use
theater.
it as an opportunity to take notes and practice your voices.
Yeah, exactly.
Clint Eastwood, see?
This is a 9 out of 10. I'm with you. We are coming out to an average of a 9 out of 10. What do you guys think of $1 Million Baby?
Great math.
Dude, I
Great
tried
math
my
there,
best,
Bob.
man. I had to do the quick calculations. What do you think of $1 Million Baby, Film and Whiskey Nation? Is it a classic in your mind? Is it as good as Unforgiven? I'd love to hear what you think about it. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Film Whiskey.
Or jump onto our Discord. We are on there every single day talking to you, the fans of the Film and Whiskey podcast. Find a link to the Discord at the end of every single one of our show notes.
All right, Brad. Well, we are going to come out of our malaise here and take a very hard turn into much lighter fare for next week. We're going to be looking at Billy Wilder's 1959 masterwork, Some Like It Hot. I can't wait for that one. man.
I am so pumped for that, dude.
All right, so join us for that next week. But until then, I'm Bob Book,
I'm Brad G.
and we'll see you next time.